My parents demanded everything in court. Then I handed the judge one paper that made police storming. I spent 25 years in Cyber Command. I've shut down foreign hackers, decoded terrorist chatter, testified in classified rooms. But nothing prepared me for the moment. My own sister looked me in the eye and said, "You don't belong here." It was late September. I had just stepped out of a cab, discharged papers still warm in my bag. I stood on the sidewalk outside the house my grandfather built and felt like a stranger. The porch light flickered above me. Once a welcome sign, now it felt like a warning. When my sister answered the intercom, she didn't ask if I was okay. "I'm calling the police," she said flatly. "Shh, I just came back from service," I said, voice shaking. "I wanted to see Mom. She doesn't want to see you," she snapped. "And neither does Dad. This isn't your home anymore. You're not in the will. You're not even on the deed." 10 minutes later, a cruiser pulled up. One officer was young. The other had a buzzcat and military eyes. "Lieutenant Colonel," he asked gently. I nodded, but it didn't matter. "This property belongs to your sister and father," the younger one said. "You have no legal access." I stepped back as the gate shut. The war hadn't ended. It had only changed shape. That night, I didn't go home. I parked 2 blocks down and stared at the crooked Farrell sign stabbed into the lawn where I once played tag with my cousins. I hadn't cried in years. Not when we lost soldiers. Not when I came home to silence, but that night something cracked. They weren't just selling a house. They were scrubbing me from my own bloodline. The next morning, I met someone I hadn't seen in years. It's an old dorm friend, now a lawyer. She slid a tablet across the cafe table. "Thought you'd want to see this." It was a property transfer. My name forged as the seller. "That's not my signature," I whispered. "I know," she said, "and we're going to prove it." What followed felt like a military op. False deeds, shell companies, a suspended notary, and the bombshell. My grandfather had left the house to me, but a month later a new will surfaced, handing everything to my father and sister. We had enough to go to court, but then it got darker. Power spikes from the house. No permits, no renovation filings, just activity. Heavy, illegal, and buried in silence. One night, someone left a note under my windshield. "If you're really her, meet me alone." I went. The man was local. Mechanic, former Marine, said he saw unmarked vans unloading crates at the house. Always at night, always guarded, and always with one man watching my sister's husband. I started surveillance. At midnight, I saw the trucks myself, filmed everything, then heard voices through a vent. If the officer finds out, sever the tie. That voice was my father's. He wasn't just aware, he was leading it. They were laundering government equipment under a shell company, using my military clearance. They stole my home and used my name to fund it. I sent every recording to my team. We pulled financial logs, digital signatures, metadata. My father had signed warehouse leases. My sister's husband had wired cash across borders, and the notary proven fraud. We filed the injunction. 2 days later, I walked through the front gate in uniform. My lawyer beside me, my head held high. I rang the doorbell. My sister opened it with that plastic smile until she saw the documents. "This is our house," she said weakly. "No, I said it was mine before you rewrote history." In court, I presented one file, the recorded transcript with my father's voice. The room fell silent. When the judge ruled, he didn't just return the house. He handed out prison sentences. My sister, 6 years, her husband 8, my father 10, no girl, and not once did any of them look me in the eye. As I walked out, a veteran touched my arm. "You reminded them," he said solidly. "We still stand." I nodded because they took my house, said I took back my name. My parents demanded everything in court, until one paper made the police storm the room. Dee spent 25 years in Cyber Command. I'd taken down foreign hacker cells at 3 a.m., intercepted terrorist communications before they could reach their targets, and testified in rooms So classified that even the walls seemed to keep secrets. But nothing. Nothing prepared me for the battlefield I came home to. It was late September. The air had that edge between summer's end and autumn's bite. My discharge papers were still warm from the printer, tucked inside my leather satchel like a medal I never wanted to let go of. I stepped out of a yellow cab and stood in front of the house my grandfather had built with his own hands, the house where I'd learned to ride a bike, where the scent of my grandmother's bread used to spill out of the kitchen window. But now the porch light flickered in a slow, almost mocking rhythm. Once a welcome sign. Now it felt like a warning. I pressed the intercom. My sister's voice crackled through, flat and cold. "What do you want?" "I just came back from service," I said. My voice shook, and I hated that she could hear it. "I want to see Mom." "She doesn't want to see you," she snapped. "Neither does Dad. This isn't your home anymore. You're not in the will. You're not even on the deed." I swallowed hard. "What are you talking about? If you don't leave, I'm calling the police." 10 minutes later, a cruiser rolled up. One officer was young, face still carrying the softness of someone who hadn't seen too much yet. The other had the sharp, assessing stare of a veteran. "Lieutenant Colonel." The older one asked gently. I nodded. It didn't matter. "This property belongs to your sister and father," the younger officer said. "You have no legal access." The gate clicked shut in my face. That night, I didn't drive home. I parked 2 blocks away, my car angled just enough so I could see the for sale sign stabbing the front lawn, the same patch of grass where I'd once played tag with my cousins until our legs gave out. I hadn't cried when we lost soldiers. I hadn't cried the day I came home to an empty apartment after deployment. But that night, something cracked. They weren't just selling the house, they were erasing me from my own bloodline. The next morning, fate intervened, an old college friend, now a defense lawyer, found me sitting in a cafe, hands wrapped around a mug, gone cold. She slid a tablet across the table. "Thought you'd want to see this," she said. Dot on the screen. A property transfer form. My name forged as the seller. "That's not my signature," I whispered. "I know," she said, "and we're going to prove it." What followed felt less like legal prep and more like a covert military op. We uncovered false deeds, shell companies, and a notary with a suspended license. The bombshell. My grandfather's original will left the house to me outright. But a month later, a new will appeared, giving everything to my father and sister. We were ready to go to court. And then it got darker. The house was drawing huge amounts of power, enough to light a small factory. No permits, no renovations filed, just silent, heavy activity. One night, a note appeared under my windshield. "If you're really Hermit, me alone." I went. He was a local mechanic, former Marine. His voice was low and urgent. "Unmarked vans," he said. "Always at night, always unloading heavy crates. One man standing watch every time your sister's husband started surveillance. At midnight, I saw the trucks myself, recorded the unloading. Then, through a vent, I heard voices. If the officer finds out, sever the tie." That voice, my father's. He wasn't just aware. He was leading it. They were laundering stolen government equipment through a fake company, using my military clearance as the cover. They'd stolen my home to hide their operation and my name to make it untouchable. I sent everything to my old cyber unit. We pulled financial logs, digital signatures, warehouse leases signed by my father, wire transfers moved by my sister's husband across borders. The notary fraud was the final nail. 2 days later, I walked up the front gate in full uniform, my lawyer at my side, head high. I rang the bell. My sister opened it with her trademark plastic smile, until she saw the documents. "This is our house," she said, voice trembling. "No," I said. "It was mine before you rewrote history." In court, I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I placed one file on the judge's bench, the audio of my father's voice giving criminal orders. The room went still. The ruling was swift. The house returned to me. Prison sentences handed down. 6 years for my sister, 8 for her husband, 10 for my father. Not once did any of them meet my eyes, as I walked out of the courthouse. A veteran in the gallery touched my arm. You reminded them, he said firmly. We still stand. I nodded, because they took my house. But I took back my name. Story to my new wife's 7-year-old daughter always cried when we were alone. What's wrong? I'd ask. But she'd just shake her head. My wife would laugh. She just doesn't like you. One day while she was on a business trip, she pulled something from her backpack. Daddy, look at this. The moment I saw it, I dialed 911 with trembling hands. Chapter 1. A House Full of Secrets. When I married Tessa, I knew blending a family wouldn't be easy. She was radiant, independent, sharp as a knife, but guarded, especially when it came to her daughter, Lily, 7 years old, fragile-looking, quiet. Her big brown eyes followed me like she was watching something she didn't trust. Even in the early days of our relationship, when I tried bringing her gifts or reading her stories, she'd just sit stiffly in the corner. She's slow to warm up, Tessa would say with a breezy smile, brushing it off. She's just used to it being the two of us. I believed her. Love makes you believe things. But once we moved in together, things changed. Lily would cry whenever Tessa left the house, not tantrums, silent, shaking tears. If I tried to comfort her, she'd pull away, eyes wide like I was a stranger or worse. What's wrong, Lily? I'd ask, softly. She'd just shake her head every time. When I told Tessa, she rolled her eyes. She just doesn't like you. Don't take it personally. But something about the way she said it. It wasn't frustration. It was amusement. Like she liked that her daughter was afraid of me. Still, I tried every day. Making pancakes with her favorite chocolate chips, leaving. Her little notes in her lunchbox offering bedtime stories even when she never accepted. And then came the trip. Tessa had to travel for a work conference 3 nights away. She was hesitant to leave, but I reassured her. I'll take care of Lily, I said. Maybe this time alone will help us bond. She kissed me goodbye, told Lily to be good. Then she was gone. The first night, Lily barely spoke. We watched a movie and she kept the blanket up to her nose the whole time. She fell asleep, curled up on the couch, not once looking me in the eye. But on the second night, something changed. I was folding laundry when she walked up to me slowly, like she was scared to even speak. She clutched her school backpack tight to her chest. Daddy, she said in a whisper, look at this. She unzipped the bag and reached inside. What she pulled out stopped my heart cold. My hands started trembling before I even knew what I was doing. And then I reached for my phone and dialed 911. Chapter 2. What was in the backpack? The 911 operator answered before the first ring finished. What's your emergency? My voice shook. My stepdaughter just showed me something. She's 7. I don't know what I'm looking at, but I think, no, I know. Someone's been hurting her. Lily stood in front of me, her little arms still holding open her backpack, waiting. Her lips were tight and tears welled up in her eyes, but not from fear this time, from relief. What exactly did she show you, sir? The operator asked calmly. I looked again, barely able to believe what I was holding. It was a drawing, a child's. Drawing done in crayon. But it wasn't the usual house, sunshine, or flowers. It was her, a stick figure with brown hair and a pink dress, and next to her, a larger figure with black scribbles over the face. They were standing in a bedroom. The door was shut, and above them, a word had been written multiple times. Slanted. Broken, panicked handwriting in red crayon. No, no, no. In the corner of the page was a bed with a red stain. In another, a speech bubble from the scribbled face that read, "Don't tell, or Mommy will leave you forever." My legs gave out. I sank to the floor. Sir, the operator pressed. Do you believe this child is in immediate danger? Yes. I whispered, staring at Lily. She's safe now, but she wasn't. Please send someone fast. Help is on the way. Stay with the child. Do not leave the premises. I hung up and looked at Lily, my voice barely there. Who is the man in the drawing? She didn't answer. She just walked to the couch, sat down, and pulled her knees to her chest. I don't know his name, she said softly. But he used to come when Mommy wasn't home. The silence that followed was thick enough to choke me. Does Mommy know? She looked at me for the first time. Truly looked at me and nodded. She told me not to talk about it. My blood ran ice cold. Chapter 3. When the doorbell rang. The sound of the doorbell jolted me like an electric shock. I opened it to find 2 uniformed officers and a woman in plain clothes. CPS based on the badge clipped to her coat. The moment they saw the drawing in my hand and Lily curled on the couch behind me, everything moved quickly. Mr. Carver. The lead officer asked. I nodded, stepping aside. This is Lily. The woman from CPS asked gently. She's my stepdaughter, I said. Her mother, my wife, is out of town. This happened when I wasn't here. The CPS worker crouched near Lily, her voice soft. Hi, sweetheart. My name is Miss Jenna. Can I sit with you? Lily didn't move at first. Then slowly she nodded. I handed over the drawing. The officer studied it, his jaw tightening. Did she say who this man is? No name? I said. She only said he came when her mom was gone and that her mom told her not to talk about it. They exchanged glances. Where's your wife right now? The other officer asked. New York business trip. She left 2 nights ago. Did you know anything about this? I looked at him, broken, sick, ashamed that I'd ever let this house feel safe without asking more questions. No, I whispered. But now that I do, I'm not letting her go through this alone. The CPS worker gently took Lily's hand. Scree, would it be all right if we talked in another room? Lily nodded. As they left, the officer's radio crackled. Dispatch. Another incoming call. Sir, the officer said to me, lowering his voice. Do you know a man named Logan Franks? I froze. Yeah, I said slowly. He's my wife's coworker. Why? The officer pulled his phone from his pocket, tapped something, then turned the screen toward me. Security footage, grainy, time-stamped. It showed Logan entering our neighborhood at 2:14 a.m. just 2 weeks ago. He used the side gate, didn't knock, didn't call. He had a key. My knees nearly gave out. Oh my God, Mr. Carver, the officer said grimly. We need to talk about who exactly your wife has been letting into this house. Chapter 4. What Tessa Knew. Tessa's flight landed at 6:25 p.m. She called me before even leaving the airport. Her voice upbeat, pretending nothing was wrong. Hey, babe, she chirped. It's just landed. Can't wait to get home and squeeze my baby girl. How's Lily been? I stared at the phone, sick to my stomach. I didn't answer immediately. I couldn't because Lily wasn't at home anymore. CPS had taken her for a medical evaluation and temporary protective custody. The officers were still here gathering more statements. I had given them access to everything. Our Wi-Fi router, the security camera cloud account, even Tessa's old iPad that Lily sometimes played games on. That's where we found the photos hidden in a locked folder under a disguised app. Photos and messages between Tessa and Logan. Some of them were disturbing. One message from Logan read, "You don't have to worry. She doesn't say a word. I told her what happens if she does." Another from Tessa. "Just be careful. I don't want John asking questions." And one final, time-stamped, just hours before she left. For her business trip. "She's still crying after your last visit. You need to cool it for a few weeks. I'll be gone for 3 days. Do not go to the house while I'm away." She knew. She protected him. She enabled this monster. I pressed record on my phone and answered her call. "Tessa?" I said calmly. "Hey," she said. "Everything okay? You sound weird. I have a few questions for you." Sure." "Why did Logan have a key to our house?" Silence. "What?" I saw the footage. 2:14 a.m. 2 weeks ago. Side gate. No knock, straight into the house. Why, John? I don't know what you're talking about. You do, Tessa, I said, voice shaking. I have the texts. The ones you sent him. It's the ones where you said she doesn't say a word. The ones where you warned him not to come while you were gone. Another silence. Then you went through my private messages. No, I snapped. The police did. She gasped. They're here right now. They know everything. Lily told me what he did. She showed me a drawing. You lied to me. You let that man into our house? You let him hurt your daughter? She started crying loud, performative sobs. I didn't know how to stop it. I thought she was exaggerating. Logan said she was confused, that she was making things up. I just didn't want to lose my job, John. I didn't want drama. You didn't want drama? I whispered, stunned. She's 7, Tessa. She cried every time we were alone, and you told me she just didn't like me. You didn't protect her. You sold her safety for convenience. She was still crying, begging me not to tell anyone, to let her explain, to work through this as a family. I ended the call without another word, then turned the recording over to the officers and said, do whatever you have to do. Chapter 5. Justice for Lily. Tessa was arrested that same evening. Right there in the arrivals terminal, the officers had everything they needed. The texts, the photos, the call recording. And most damning of all, her indifference. She didn't fight, she didn't run. But she did cry, not for Lily, for herself. The charges were swift and severe. Child endangerment. Conspiracy to cover up. Abuse. Accessory to aggravated assault on a minor. And because Logan was still under investigation for multiple counts of abuse, the district attorney fast-tracked Tessa's indictment. Logan was arrested 2 days later, dragged out of his office in handcuffs. They found encrypted files on his laptop. His bail was denied. As for Lily, I fought for custody. I didn't care what the legal hurdles were. She had no one left. New grandparents. New extended family willing to step forward. But she had me. And I meant it when I said I wouldn't let her go through this alone. I met with psychologists, counselors, social workers. I sat through every uncomfortable hearing, endured invasive questions and home evaluations. And through it all, I stayed by Lily's side. Every time she reached for my hand, I was there. Every time she flinched at shadows, I held her through it, and slowly the crying stopped. She started to smile again. Once, while watching cartoons, she fell asleep with her head on my chest. And just before her eyes closed, she whispered, "Daddy, thank you." It broke me, but in the right way this time. Epilogue. Tessa was sentenced to 14 years. Logan got 25. The courtroom was packed the day of the verdict. Tessa never looked at me, but Lily did, sitting beside me, holding my hand like it was the only safe place on earth.